Hello, everybody. Welcome into the HD edition of our show, Scores, Goals, and Touchdowns with Mr. Pat. Doing our best to beat the heat here. We got a bowl of watermelon, some Kool-Aid, and water. So it's a little hot out, as you can definitely tell. Coming back with us, we have my brother, Tom. We have the host of WXUT's main event, Saturdays, 10 in the morning, 88.3 FM. All right, biggest story that's happened this week, story that I've been waiting for months. Huge story. NFL Lockout finally unlocked. Teams can play. Owners are making a lot of moves, which has been crazy. It's been just building up. I got to tell you, I've been waiting for this for months, ecstatic about it. My biggest thing, though, I'm so happy. Fantasy football finally going to climb out of last place. Hired a guest of the show, Kevin Weber, to be the fantasy football czar. Finally going to beat Joe. I got to tell you, that was the first thing that came through my head. What about you guys? What's the first thing you saw? What's the first thing you thought when you saw that the NFL lockout was done?
I was ready for fantasy football as well. It immediately popped into my head. I started thinking about who I'd pick up, who could possibly be on my team. I don't do a lot of preparation for it. I just like the process. I like the drafting, and I like following the guys. But I'll tell you another thing, I didn't expect it, but all these teams making all these moves was a lot of fun to watch. Yeah. This was very interesting for me.
Well, I was ecstatic. You know, people can now take a relief. Seemed like America was tense that they weren't going to have their Sunday afternoon and Sunday night football. Mm-hmm. But personally for me, I was hoping that the NBA guys would learn from them because I really want an NBA season. And if the NFL players can figure this out, then the NBA players can figure it out. But I'm ecstatic, though.
Yeah, especially for me. I mean, I do this show. I mean, without the NFL in the fall, there's only so much you can talk about. I was worried for this.
Oh, yeah.
Now, something you mentioned earlier about all those NFL owners making all these moves, it was a lot of fun. It just seemed like all this stuff had been bottled up, and as soon as it ended, it just exploded. You had all these teams making moves. Vince Young being cut almost immediately. Nnamdi Asomugha going to the Eagles. Matt Hasselbeck to the Titans. Plaxico Burress is now a Jet. Everyone thought he was going to be either an Eagle or a Giant. Yeah, sorry about it. Yeah. And then New England making those two big moves, Ocho Cinco, Albert Haynesworth. Out of all the ones, what do you say is the best right now?
The Eagles just tore it up this offseason. They acquired the hottest free agent cornerback in Nnamdi Asomugha. They were able to trade Kevin Cobb for Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie and a second-round pick from the Cardinals. And they still have Asante Samuel. And they also signed Vince Young, who may not have worked out well in Tennessee, but
You know what? Now I said the Patriots, but I got to go with him now because I didn't realize how many moves they had made because it was so many moves, you know. And plus, I'm a Bears fan, so I was worried about my own team. You know, we picked up Golston and Sazenbacher from Toledo, and also Roy Williams, which I'm not really happy about that. But you know,
I really like the Sazenbacher pickup.
Yes,
I really like that.
He might be better than Williams, but anyway, I thought about the Patriots, and I said, you know, that's a really good move picking up Chad Ochocinco. I guess as you say, the rich get richer with Albert Haynesworth. I think now that he's in the Belichick system, both those guys have really produced. They're coming from bad franchises, let's face it. And once you go to the Patriots, somehow it's like a career revival. So that's what I'll see out of those two this season.
Yeah, that happened with Randy Moss when he was with the Raiders. He went to New England, and then he just was incredible every year except for last year when they traded him. And the same thing with Corey Dillon. He was with the Bengals, one of the worst teams ever. And he ends up leaving Cincinnati, goes to New England, and then he has like 1,400 yards rushing, multiple touchdowns, and I'm pretty sure they won the Super Bowl his first year there. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I like the Ocho Cinco pick. I mean, the guy, he's goofy as hell, but he can still play. He still draws double teams. He'll be good in New England, especially with Tom Brady throwing the ball. Only thing, Albert Haynesworth, though. Last night, Steve and Brian were having a big argument over Albert Haynesworth. Steve started saying Haynesworth had max contract disease. That's where, as it sounds, the guy gets that money, and they just stop caring. They don't try anymore. Sean Alexander was the example that Steve kept using. Yeah. And I noticed the thing with Albert Haynesworth, that when he was dominant in Tennessee, they ran the 4-3. That was the big thing. But then when he went to Washington, we all know what happened. Him and Shanahan started picking at each other, called him lazy, couldn't do the workouts. They ran a 3-4. Do you think that's going to affect him? Because the Patriots run that too. Or is he going to be able to get back to how he was when he was at Tennessee?
I think he gave up before he had a chance to prove how he could do in a 3-4. I think he was nervous about the fact that he wouldn't get the numbers he normally does in a 4-3 because his job as a nose tackle in a 3-4 is just to eat blocks and create gaps for other people. He has to draw double teams. He has to draw triple teams. And he's just not going to get the penetration he used to. And I just think that meant he just didn't want to work for it.
Yeah.
He wanted the instant gratification of those stats. He wanted to show he was doing something. And he was also on the Redskins, which they're not a very good team either.
No.
I think that he's got a good point. I think, though, that he's going to probably succeed with the Patriots because basically Belichick's probably going to say what you just said. He's like, look, I understand we're on the 3-4. You want this gratification, but this is what we run here, buddy, and this is how we win. You can either be with the program or you're not, but this is what we're going to do. I think with the Redskins, Shanahan wasn't really cut and dry with them. It was pretty much let's play a bunch of games and let's insult each other through the media. And that's just a disaster. And then you're not winning, and then you treat the quarterback the same way.
Yeah.
They threw the season away. So
You are right. That is the key word. When players go from a losing team to a winning team, they all of a sudden start getting better. They start working harder because they want money, but they also want to win.
right.
But I don't know about Hainsworth. I mean, he didn't try at all last season. They cut him. They just let him go. Did they cut him? Yeah. Well, they did something with him, and he just stopped trying. He's in the 3-4. I don't think he's going to be that great. Ocho Cinco, though, I love the pick. I think he's going to do wonderful things in New England. But with that, we're going to take a quick break and come back, and we're going to delve more into the lockout. Welcome back, Scores, Goals, and Touchdowns. We're going into more in the NFL lockout. Excuse me. One of the big stories I thought was huge for the Arizona Cardinals. They got Kevin Kolb from the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, San Francisco and all these other teams in the NFC West, really weak, so I think that was huge. You got Larry Fitzgerald in a contract year. It pains me to say this, but I think that the Cardinals are finally going to be good since the King Kurt era. Kurt Warner, greatest quarterback of all time. Now, with all that being said, how weak the NFC West is, do you see Arizona finally coming out and being the team to beat?
I believe so. I know Kevin Kolb has come out and in the games he's looked great or he's at times looked like a liability throwing interceptions. But at the same time, I think having a quarterback is capable of throwing a ball around the field pretty well, I think it'll open up the run game a little more for him. And I don't think they'll have to rely so heavily on the run game, and I don't think it'll change the way teams have to game plan for Arizona. So I don't like what they gave up to get him. I think he's kind of an unknown. He's never played a full season, and he was actually replaced by Michael Vick last year. But I mean, if you think of what you've seen, he's your guy. You got to go get him.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who's in the West. It's the Cardinals,
The Rams
Seahawks.
with Sam Bradford,
Right.
and the Seahawks, and then San Francisco.
There's only 3 in the conference.
No, Arizona, San Francisco, Seattle, St. Louis.
Okay. St. Louis made the playoffs with Bradford. I see them getting better this year. They were 7-9. San Francisco with Harbaugh, I see them getting a little bit better. So I wouldn't say they're the clear-cut favorite in the West, but like you're right. The West is weak, so I could see them being contenders again. But I don't know. I think that conference is on the up and up. Time will tell.
And San Francisco still has Frank Gore's holdout hanging over their head.
And plus, like we were saying earlier, Kolb is an injury-prone player.
Yeah.
The jury's still out. So what if he gets injured? Then what?
That's true. I'd love to see the 49ers finally be good. I'm a 49ers fan. It's just been really difficult watching them as of late. We'll move on past that. Another franchise is having a lot of trouble. The Cincinnati Bengals, Carson Palmer and Mike Brown are currently in a slap fight. It's, I don't want to play. Well, I'm not going to trade you. Well, then I'll retire. Do you think either side's going to blink first, or are they just going to sit there, hold their breath, and stomp their feet the whole time?
I think it's the second part. I honestly, if you watch Carson Palmer play from when he first started and when these last couple years, he just looks like he's frustrated all the time. Looks like he's not enjoying it at all. Yeah, he's getting paid very well to do it, but if you're not enjoying what you do, I mean, he wants to be traded. I don't think either will budge on it. I think Mike Brown's going to be the stupid thing and try to prove a point. But I believe if anyone cracks, it'll be Mike Brown first. But I firmly believe that Carson Palmer will retire rather than play.
I believe it's unprofessional by both sides. Carson Palmer is, let's face it, just be a professional, man up, and play for the organization. I mean, it does say a lot that you want to just retire instead of playing for the Bengals. And Mike Brown is known as one of the cheapest owners in the league. But at the end of the day, you signed a contract, be professional, and just do your job. As far as Mike Brown is concerned, how about you just trade Carson Palmer and try to better the franchise by getting either some draft picks or some better players?
And he hasn't been the same ever since that playoff game against the Steelers where Kimo von Olhoffen just destroyed his knee. Which that was brutal.
And last year he had 2 number 1 receivers and they didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, you shouldn't hold your franchise hostage at the cost of your pride.
Yeah.
He's got to suck it up.
Now, another quarterback being moved, Donovan McNabb went to the Minnesota Vikings. Good move?
I think it's a great move. They have really, I mean, after Brett Favre last year he didn't look like Brett Favre. I mean, he made the stupid throws that Brett Favre does, but they didn't work out like they usually did in the past. I think McNabb, he's a veteran. They've got some young wide receivers, some young good talent that he'll be able to use. I mean, he had Deshaun Jackson in Philly, and those two hooked up all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's got a speed demon in Percy Harvin that he can throw to and just stretch the field. I think with somebody stretching the field for him and having Adrian Peterson as his running back, McNabb he'll have his choice of weapons, whatever he wants to do. I think that's what he was missing in Washington. I think that was a great move for them.
Well, I would sum it up. He's not Brett Favre. That's a positive. The drama queen is gone. You actually get a younger player, a guy that's going to come in and just want to play. He does have Adrian Peterson, but with the Percy Harvin thing, hopefully he can take some extra strength Tylenol or Excedrin because he needs those headaches are just killing his career. I mean, when he plays, he's effective, but you can't do anything if you got a headache on the sidelines.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good pickup. You know, they need to just get away from Favre. So
Yeah. Really quick before we go, each of you guys, you keep mentioning Favre. Now, there is a lot of talk, and I'm actually terrified about this, that Brett Favre might be coming out of retirement again. If you're a team, NFL owner, do you take him?
no.
Absolutely not. The most I would do is I wouldn't hire him as a starter. I'd hire him as a backup and mentor a young guy. Like, not have him on the field. I don't want him playing. I'm saying at the very most, this is how he would be I wouldn't want him. But I'm saying I could see somebody taking him just to mentor the guy a little bit. Not necessarily
mentor him to be a drama queen and put him through 5 different retirements.
Keep him away from cell phones.
Yeah, exactly.
that's a good point.
And different reporters, yeah.
We're going to take a quick break, come back to Pat's Piece. Make sure you'll like us on Facebook, and see you then. We didn't get to talk about it due to time constraints, but I got to say, baseball needs replay. There is no way around it. This week, the Atlanta Braves and the Pittsburgh Pirates played an awesome 19-inning game. The game went 6 hours, 39 minutes. A total of 15 pitchers were used, and Christian Martinez threw 6 innings of relief. But do you know what people are going to remember about the game? The blown call at the end. How many times do we have to watch in disbelief as an umpire makes the wrong call, and that being that? We had this game, Armando Galarraga's almost perfect game. A.J. Pierzynski running to first after striking out in the ALS. Wait a minute. That was awesome. Forget that one. But seriously, out of the anti-replay crowd, the only argument that might make sense is that it will slow down the game. That I can buy, but the one where they say human error has always been a part of the game is just silly. People making mistakes and having no way to counteract it should not be a selling point. Getting the call right is what's important, not celebrating human fallibility. Thank you for watching Scores, Goals, and Touchdowns with Mr. Pat. See you next week.